Story 1. It was a late fall day during my junior year of high school when I decided to skip school, claiming to my mom that I wasn't feeling well. In reality, I just wanted a break from the monotony. As the day progressed, around noon, a chilling, high-pitched laughter caught my attention, seemingly emanating from outside. At first, I brushed it off, assuming it was our neighbor, but the laughter persisted, sending shivers down my spine. An unsettling feeling crept over me, as if something ominous was about to unfold. Compelled by curiosity mingled with fear, I approached the window, cautiously peering through the blinds. To my shock, there stood an elderly woman, mere inches away from the glass, wearing a disturbingly perplexed expression and a smile that sent chills down my spine. The barrier between us was nothing more than the thin pane of the window. Startled, I let out a scream and asked her what she wanted. Her enigmatic gaze and that unforgettable smile unnerved me. Reacting quickly, I moved away from the window, closing the blinds within a matter of seconds. With trembling thoughts, I left the room, trying to collect myself. I contacted my mom, who advised me to hold off on calling the police unless the woman posed further problems. Returning to my room, I cautiously looked out the window again, only to find the lady vanished. Relief washed over me, but deep down, I knew I wasn't entirely in the clear. In an attempt to ensure she hadn't infiltrated our property, I scrutinized every window in the house, finding no trace of her presence. The remainder of the day unfolded uneventfully, and the old lady seemed like a distant memory. However, a few days later, on a sad night around 11 o'clock, I was abruptly startled by persistent knocking on my window. Instantly, I feared that the old lady had returned. Shouting at her to go away, I refrained from even glancing outside. Once again, her eerie laughter pierced the silence. Startled by my commotion, my dad rushed into my room, seeking an explanation. The knocking and laughter had ceased completely by then, and I was too terrified to speak. Instead, I pointed anxiously toward the window, gesturing for silence. Perplexed, my dad approached the window and opened the blinds. To his astonishment, the same woman I had encountered days earlier stood before him. She began screaming, reaching behind herself to retrieve a knife, wildly brandishing it at us. Though her words were incomprehensible, her intent was unmistakable. Desperate to enter, she opened the window, but my dad swiftly pushed her back, promptly locking it. Immediately, my dad dialed the police, who arrived to find the old woman still on our property. Apparently, she had injured her ankle, hindering her ability to escape. Perhaps realizing the futility of her efforts, she seemed resigned to her fate, assuming she would be apprehended. During her subsequent interrogation, she brazenly confessed her intentions to kill us, unraveling her entire plan. What disturbed me most was the fact that this woman was around 70 years old. Crime, it seemed, knew no age limits, and the capacity for humans to commit horrific acts transcended age. It became evident that she suffered from severe mental illness, further supported by her age and deteriorating mental state. As it turned out, she had been secretly residing in a foreclosed house adjacent to ours, a property we believed to be unoccupied. We had only been living in our home for a couple of months when this all unfolded, leaving us to ponder how long she had been silently cohabitating in that abandoned dwelling. Although she claimed she had been there for a few weeks, the exact duration remained shrouded in uncertainty. The thought of her meticulous planning and the potential alternate outcomes sent shivers down my spine. The revelation of her sinister presence made me question my own security. From that moment onward, I became hypervigilant, checking the locks on my window obsessively. The sanctuary of my room had been violated, leaving an indelible mark on my psyche. The comfort of home now harbored an unsettling undercurrent. The incident with the elderly woman served as a haunting reminder that danger can lurk in unexpected places. It shattered the illusion of safety I had naively held onto. The world, once seen through innocent eyes, now revealed its darker shades. Over time, I discovered that the old lady had a history of mental health issues. Her deranged mind had fixated on our family, weaving a web of malevolence that only a disturbed soul could conceive. The motive behind her actions remained elusive, lost in the labyrinthine corridors of her deteriorating sanity. The incident left an indelible impact on our household. We implemented heightened security measures, installing surveillance cameras and reinforcing the locks on every entry point. Sleep became elusive, and the creaking of floorboards outside my room played tricks on my anxious mind. A local community reacted with shock and disbelief when news of the incident spread. Rumors circulated, with whispers of past encounters and strange occurrences involving the old woman. It seemed she had been a specter haunting the periphery of our lives, concealed by the veil of obscurity until she chose to reveal herself. In the aftermath, we received counseling to help us cope with the trauma. Sleepless nights and intrusive thoughts became constant companions, lingering reminders of the fragility of our existence. Trust, once given freely, now required arduous rebuilding. As time passed, life slowly regained a semblance of normalcy. The wounds, though they left scars, gradually healed. Yet, the experience had irrevocably changed me. I became more cautious, more aware of the potential darkness that could slink in the shadows. The naivety of youth gave way to a mature wariness, a keen intuition that remained a silent guardian. The old woman's fate became entwined with our memories, a chilling chapter in our family's history. She was deemed unfit to stand trial due to her deteriorated mental state, confined to a psychiatric institution where she would receive the care she so desperately needed. It was a bittersweet resolution, knowing that justice had been served, yet understanding the tragedy of a life consumed by madness. Years have passed since that fateful encounter, and life has moved on. The echoes of that haunting laughter have faded into distant echoes, replaced by the steady rhythm of everyday existence. Still, the scars remain, etched upon my consciousness, a testament to the inexplicable horrors that can unfold in the most unexpected corners of our lives. I share my story with others, a cautionary tale of the fragility of our perceived safety, urging them to remain vigilant and to trust their instincts. For in the darkness, there may always be a glimmer of light, guiding us through the labyrinth of fear and reminding us that resilience can emerge even from the darkest of nights. Story 2. At the age of 28, I finally took the plunge and bought my very first house. It was located in a rough part of town, far from the safest neighborhood one could imagine. But in my excitement, I overlooked the potential risks that came with the affordable price tag. Little did I know that the house held more horrors than I could ever have imagined. During the first month of settling into my new abode, everything seemed relatively normal. I exchanged light-hearted small talk with my neighbors, discovering that, despite the neighborhood's reputation, they appeared surprisingly ordinary. However, there was one resident who stood out among the rest, a peculiar man living a couple of houses down. This oddball character, around 45 years old, gave me an uneasy feeling from the moment our paths crossed. He was average in height, slightly overweight, and had a receding hairline. Clad in perpetually dirty clothes, he would often approach me for conversation, ranting about random and unusual topics. There was an undeniable off-putting aura surrounding him. One day, after returning from the grocery store, I noticed him walking on the sidewalk toward his dilapidated house. As I pulled into my driveway, he abruptly turned around and began talking to me. His words grew increasingly intense as he unleashed his pent-up anger towards his deceased mother, describing her as a horrible woman. His vehement delivery left me unsettled and wary of his unstable nature. Another encounter occurred when I was sitting on my porch with a friend. Spotting us outside, the peculiar neighbor essentially invited himself over. Cutting me off mid-sentence, he delved into a rant about his discontentment with his dishwashing job at a local restaurant. In an alarming twist, he resorted to making racist comments about his coworkers, revealing a disturbing aspect of his character. Fed up with his behavior, I retreated indoors, signaling my friend to join me, while the odd neighbor continued his tirade. Bewildered by the encounter, my friend and I burst into uncontrollable laughter, attempting to shake off the discomfort caused by this bizarre man. Little did we know that the real nightmare was yet to unfold. Later that night, my friend, Brendan, who had consumed one too many drinks, decided to crash at my place. I offered him the couch since the guest bedroom lacked a bed. As I lay in bed, on the brink of drifting into sleep, a knock on the front door shattered the tranquility of the night. Peering through the peephole, I discovered the same creepy neighbor standing on my porch. My initial instinct was to ignore him, but Brendan suggested I open the door to hear him out. Reluctantly, I decided to give the afflicted man a chance, hoping to defuse the situation. However, what he requested caught me completely off guard, igniting a surge of anger within me. He had the audacity to ask for $50. I shot him a look of disbelief, refusing his request, stating that I couldn't simply give away $50. He apologized for asking and seemed ready to leave, so I attempted to shut the door. But he extended his arm, placing it between the door and the frame, preventing its closure. Desperation laced his voice as he pleaded for assistance, even requesting a snack or any food that could sustain him through the night. Despite contemplating helping him, I had reached my limit with his games and the late hour amplified my discomfort. Meeting his gaze, I firmly stated my refusal, emphasizing that he needed to leave. As I made a final attempt to shut the door, he burst through, tackling me with unexpected force. Reacting quickly, Brendan intervened, pulling the man off me and allowing me to regain control. Faced with our united front, the man realized he was outnumbered and made a hasty retreat. It was then, as he disappeared into the night, that Brendan noticed something chilling. He revealed that while restraining the man, he had caught a glimpse of a gun tucked into the back of his pants. The realization hit us like a wave of terror. This man had intended to rob or harm us. With a sinking feeling in my gut, I couldn't shake the suspicion that this individual was not just an ordinary troublemaker. I confided in my neighbor a few days later, sharing the details of the encounter. To my astonishment, she informed me that nobody had lived in that particular house for over 5 years. It had been abandoned long before she moved into the neighborhood. Alarmed by this revelation, I immediately contacted the police, hoping they could shed some light on the situation. However, their search of the house and its surroundings yielded no substantial evidence or clues. It became apparent that the peculiar man had been squatting in the abandoned property, using it as a hiding place or temporary residence. To this day, I have yet to receive any updates or information regarding the incident. The mystery surrounding the man's motives and intentions remains unsolved. I am grateful that I had a friend with me that night, as I can only speculate on the dire consequences that might have befallen me had I been alone. Unsettled by the traumatic events, I made the decision to leave that house behind. 3 years have passed since then, and I have since relocated to a safer neighborhood, seeking solace and peace of mind. But the experience left an indelible mark on me, a constant reminder that danger can lurk in unexpected places and that human nature is capable of unspeakable horrors. Now, in my new home, I remain vigilant, ensuring that my windows and doors are securely locked. The memories of that fateful encounter serve as a constant reminder of the fragility of our security and the importance of trust in one's instincts. It is a chapter of my life I would rather forget, yet one that has shaped my perception of the world around me. As I reflect on that harrowing experience, I realize that horror can reside not only in supernatural tales but also in the chilling realities of human behavior. It serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that darkness can dwell even within the seemingly mundane corners of our existence. Story 3. Fresh out of high school at 18 years old, I had diligently saved up for almost a year to secure my own apartment. With my father as a co-signer, I eagerly embraced the prospect of newfound independence. The apartment's rent was reasonable, and it offered me a space to call my own, a short walk away from the college where I was about to embark on my freshman year. As a college town, many of the tenants in the building were fellow students. I quickly made a couple of friends who shared similar interests, and we would hang out from time to time. However, there was one individual who always struck us as odd. We couldn't quite place him, but he seemed to be everywhere we turned, riding around on his bike, staring at us with a menacing gaze. We dismissed him as nothing more than a neighborhood creep. One fateful night, as I lay sound asleep, I was jolted awake by piercing sounds of yelling and screaming. The paper-thin walls allowed every word to penetrate my room with alarming clarity. It was evident that the commotion originated from the apartment adjacent to mine. A woman, roughly my age, pleaded with someone to leave her alone, her pleas echoing through the night. At first, my instinct was to intervene, to knock on her door and offer assistance. Yet, as the cacophony gradually subsided, I convinced myself that it was none of my business, opting to stay out of the situation. I managed to drift back into a troubled sleep, but upon waking in the morning around 8 o'clock, a foreboding sensation gnawed at my chest. Something was undeniably wrong. Driven by an uneasy curiosity, I mustered the courage to approach my neighbor's apartment. Knocking on the door repeatedly, I waited anxiously, unsure of what to expect. Finally, the door creaked open, revealing only a sliver of a person's face peering out from the darkness. The room itself was oddly dim, making it difficult to discern the individual's identity. "Hey, is everything all right in there?" I inquired, concern lacing my words. The person grew defensive, demanding to know what I was talking about. Frustrated, I cut through the charade, recounting the previous night's disturbance of screams and cries. However, the stranger vehemently denied any knowledge of the incident and promptly shut the door in my face. Returning to my own apartment, a whirlwind of thoughts raced through my mind. I felt helpless, trapped in a dilemma of indecision. It seemed too late to involve the police, rendering me unsure of the appropriate course of action. Driven by an overwhelming urge, I resolved to return to my neighbor's apartment, fueled by the need for answers. Once again, I knocked on the door, and to my surprise, the same familiar face greeted me, opening the door wider this time. It was the same unsettling man my friends and I had encountered around the neighborhood countless times. "Dude, where's the girl?" I demanded, my voice tinged with urgency. Confusion etched across his face. He replied, I don't know." I pressed him further, insisting that he stop lying and allow me to see the girl to ensure her safety. But he dismissed me as crazy, shutting the door abruptly. Frustration and desperation coursed through my veins, culminating in a reckless act. I began to kick at the door, consumed by anger and the need for resolution. Amidst the chaos, I made a pivotal decision to involve the authorities. Dialing the emergency line, I relayed every detail I knew, hoping that it would lead to a swift resolution. The police arrived promptly, demanding entry into the apartment. Armed with the information I had provided, they entered the premises, unaware of the chilling discovery that awaited them. Inside, they found the lifeless body of the young woman named Kaylee. Horror engulfed me as I learned the gruesome details. Her body had been cruelly dismembered, with her limbs and even her head severed from her torso. Though I was spared the sight, the weight of guilt settled upon me, its relentless grip tightening with each passing day. For the past 5 years, my conscience has been plagued by remorse and self-condemnation. Not a single day goes by without the haunting memory of that night. The knowledge that I might have had the chance to save Kaylee's life torments me, the weight of my inaction unbearable. In the wake of the investigation, the man responsible for this heinous crime was apprehended. He now languishes behind bars, condemned to the fate he deserves. Yet, the closure of justice brings little solace. The scars left on my soul are deep, irreversibly altering the person I once was. In the aftermath, I found it difficult to trust again, to let myself forge connections with others. The world had revealed its dark underbelly, and I had become intimately acquainted with its shadows. The once promising sense of independence that led me to that apartment now lay shattered, replaced by a constant vigilance and a gnawing fear. I eventually moved away from that place, seeking solace and a fresh start elsewhere. But the memory of that harrowing experience remains imprinted in my mind, a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the consequences of our choices. Kaylee's tragic fate serves as a haunting reminder that evil exists in the most unexpected corners of the world. It compels me to be vigilant, to speak out when something feels amiss, and to trust my instincts, even in the face of uncertainty. I share this story not as a mere retelling of a horrifying event, but as a cautionary tale, urging others to listen, to act, and to strive for a world where such atrocities can be prevented. May Kaylee's memory live on, and may we all find the courage to stand against the darkness that threatens to consume us.